friend and true Armenian, Alex Madajian. Parev, Alex.
What is this? It's great to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. And today we're going to talk about Armenian diaspora in the USA and a bit more about some political things in the USA, because most of our audience, they don't know about political kitchen in the USA. But first, I would like to ask you about, please tell me about yourself. What do you do? So I guess
Sure.
it's very for audience.
No problem. So what I do right now is I work in government transparency research. So basically, I review government documents and make people aware of what's going on in our government. But before that, I worked as a staffer in Congress for a politician. And before that, I worked as a gun rights lobbyist. So I would go to the Congress and argue why they need to allow more citizens to own firearms in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. So it seems to me that I'm talking to the next congressman, right? I mean, congressman. But I hope so.
I hope not. Oh, I hope not. I wouldn't. I'd never want to. Being close enough to politicians makes me realize that I never want to be one.
And not only congressman, but senators too, yeah? And maybe first Armenian president of the United States.
Lord have mercy on me.
By the way, how did your ancestors come to USA?
Well, I'm a bit of a strange Armenian, if you will. So there's two Armenian diasporas in the US, at least two, maybe more. Right. There's those that came in the first wave, the first major wave, and those that came in the later wave. So all of my ancestors came after the 1915 Armenian genocide. And my father's side all came to a place in South Wisconsin called Racine. And my mother's side went to Brazil. And they all went to Sao Paulo, Brazil. Yeah. And then in the 1980s, my mother and father met in Armenia, Soviet Armenia, and neither spoke Armenian. Both of their parents didn't teach them Armenian, so they didn't know any. They spoke just through friends. Mm-hmm. And over the years, they wrote letters to each other, maybe like 10 years. They were writing letters, and my mother came to California to learn English. That's where my father was living. And they started dating there, and that's how they got married. I grew up in a very non-Armenian part of California called Santa Barbara. It's a beautiful town, but very, very few Armenians lived there. So I didn't know any Armenians growing up, or not very many. The big Armenian community that I did know, was basically two families, one of whom are both my godparents. And they were of the other later diaspora that I was talking about. They came from the Soviet Union. All of my family and my ancestors have nothing to do with the Soviet Union and no understanding. If you ask me what's Armenian culture like, I would have responded, it's Middle Eastern. It's it's like Arabic or something. But if you talk to an Armenian from the Republic of Armenia, they'll say it's very Russian, it's post-Soviet, it's kind of like that. And the honest answer is Armenian culture is neither of these things. Armenian culture is Armenian. That's what it is. Right. It's not Persian, it's not Turkish, it's not Arab or Russian, it's just Armenian. Right. So I think that this is a cause of friction because a lot of us in our communities don't understand this. But I think this is something that we need to address as a global community.
All right. It's a very unusual love story.
I think so. I'm happy they met.
And about Soviet heritage, Republic of Armenia, right now we are getting rid of this Soviet heritage. We are trying to rebuild our Armenian culture. You said it very rightly. So, yeah, you grew up in Santa Barbara, right? There were two Armenian families, you said.
Yeah, yeah. There was another one. The father of the family, he's a doctor, and he was only half Armenian himself, but his family's Armenian. So he has an Armenian last name, and all of his family feels Armenian and identifies as Armenian, even though he's only half Armenian. So it shows. It shows a lot in that family.
But as I know, you are a very active member of Armenian community in the USA.
Yes. So no, it's worth. Thank you for making that point. So 7 years ago, uh, I, I guess started to see my country cracking or falling apart. I guess,
Yeah,
and there I was very upset about this because, well, I mean, going to a local college, I saw it firsthand. There were professors at the school who ridiculed people who believe in Christianity, people who believe in, well, I mean, what's normal? What's traditional? What's good and right? And they wanted to replace it with subversive leftism or secularism or all these things I could see were evil and bad. So I realized I have to do everything I can to stop it. Like my old country, old Western Armenia,
yeah,
is in Turkish hands now, and there's nothing I can do about that. But my adopted country that has taken me in, it's my patriotic duty to do whatever I can to protect and help the country that took my family in. So I drove across America all by myself to Washington D.C. and I started looking for work, and that's all the things I was telling you about. That's when I started doing these work, like in nonprofit work or government work, anything I can to get involved. I do think that the left wing, the Democratic Party in America, is very subversive. There are good Democrat people here, but a lot of them are ignorant or not fully aware of the implications. But unfortunately, many of them are fully aware of how corrosive liberalism or leftism can be, because in their mind, them I can explain all of American politics very easily. When people see, oh, why are these people talking about what gender they are? Or why are they so obsessed with race? Or why are they? It's very, very simple. It's not because they think that this is the most reasonable thing. Reason why they believe it is because their goal is to destroy civilization and rebuild it up into something else. Once you think in those terms, all their actions make total sense. This is why they talk about the patriarchy, everything's racist, everything. They have to label everything as evil so they can destroy everything. And that's how they rebuild because they understand civilization was built on everything they hate. And you can't
yeah.
rebuild a new civilization. You have to destroy everything and then build it.
Yeah, they believe that everyone is equal, right? But it's not the right thing. We are not equal. So it's a
Well,
natural.
you can
It's
see
a
different. I mean, it's very subversive. So in American founding documents, we say all people are created equal, but that doesn't mean we act equal, we think equally, or we will show the same virtue of quality of character. Uh, so you're right. Like we might be made equal by God, but we don't act equally. And to act as though we act equally, it's foolish. It's destructive.
sure, sure, sure. Right. By the way, which part of Western Armenian your family is? I mean, from
Well,
from where?
um, the largest city was Kayseri. I don't think I had too many family members from there, but both of my father's grandparents were born in Tomarza.
Oh,
So,
yes.
and my mother had some relatives in Morash. So both my parents are 100% Western Armenian. which is not common in the U.S. There's very few fully Western Armenians in the United States. Most of them are in Syria and Lebanon.
Many people, mostly in Armenia, people think that Armenian diaspora in the US is very powerful and united. Is it true or not? And judging by your smile, I'm understanding that it's not.
How I wish we were. I wish that we were exactly what everyone outside the U.S. thought we were. Like I would. That would be such a dream. I wish we were what the Azerbaijanis say we are. That would be just a dream. But it's a mixed thing. I would say that it's very impressive how organized we are, how much we contribute. It's very inspiring. But the reality is, Armenians are less than 1% of the United States. Armenians. So I was looking at some data. It depends on how you define what's an Armenian, because are you talking half Armenian, quarter Armenian? People like it's more difficult to
Armenian mindset.
Right, Armenian mindset. That's even harder. That's even harder to put in data. But there's anywhere from 250,000 Armenians to 1 million. And for context, the American total population is 330 million. So we're not even like 1% at like the largest estimates. We're barely 1%. Like a close example would be like the people in the US who see themselves as transgender. It's like they're bigger than us by like a few percentage, like 0.3% or whatever. So
3% of gender or transgenders?
Like more than Armenians, I'm saying. There's like 0.3% higher, like more transgender Americans than there are Armenians in general. So for Armenians or whoever to stress, their lobby is so powerful.
Sorry,
really small.
Alex John. I have a question, but they can't reproduce themselves. How do they spreading?
Well, I mean,
reproductive, right?
Well, no, you're right. You're right. Well, one, none of them inherit it, right? It's not like, I'm transgender because my parents were. People are transgender because they're mentally ill. Okay, so it's like, how does mental illness doesn't just spread by reproduction. It spreads because sometimes they're born with issues. Sometimes that they're taught very badly by bad parents or bad teachers. That's the reason why it spreads so much. But the things about being Armenian is you need Armenian parents and you need an Armenian community to encourage them to pursue an Armenian identity. And those things are much more difficult to reproduce on a scale for our community. I didn't grow up with an Armenian school, but I know a lot of people who did grow up with an Armenian school and have Armenian parents, but don't care about Armenia. They're exhausted by Armenians and they want to get away from Armenians. So, and also sometimes not every aspect of Armenian culture is looked well upon. In Armenian culture, we praise Christianity as a very high and good thing. The roles of women, the roles of men, those are very highly regarded. But now in America, for a long time, I'm not saying that this is always going to be true, but for a long time, those things have been discarded and looked down on. Now, though, I do think that times are changing, and I think that, God willing, people will look at the Armenian community and those virtues as something they should follow and they should imitate.
Right. It's very sad because it will end in assimilation. I call it white genocide.
Well, it depends. See, like, who are we assimilating into? And this is the key thing. If you go to my communities or the old Armenian communities, like in Massachusetts or Wisconsin, they assimilate into kind of an white American, typically. But in Los Angeles, when they assimilate, they don't always assimilate into good populations. It's tragic, but there are Armenians who assimilate into gang culture, black gangs, Hispanic gangs. This is why we see something like Armenian Power, if you've heard of it. That's a mostly LA-based Armenian gang, and they really are actually kind of like to me, they are the absolute example of what evil assimilation is. Like, they are adopting the worst parts of their local community and like smearing the name of Armenians. They're shaming the names of Armenians by adopting the worst aspects of the worst part of their local community. So it like, in a sense, like, broadly speaking, I wouldn't call it white genocide. I would say adopting the wrong assimilation. Like, there are good things to assimilate to in the United States, just as there are in Russia or wherever the diaspora is. But the big issue is not whether you like a certain, like, you McDonald's, or if you all of a sudden are really good at technology. Okay, who cares? The issue is, do you care about the role of the Armenian faith, the role of the Armenian nation, and the role of the Armenian people? If those things get lost, then that, in a sense, is more like a quiet, I wouldn't use the word genocide, but a quiet killing of the Armenian people. I would call it that.
Right. So we have two ways of Armenia, I would say, mixing. I don't mixing with people in Los Angeles. I mean, Hispanic culture, Black culture. So after the Armenians adopting very bad habits, and as you said, yeah, and another way when we mix with white Americans, yeah, in Middle West or something like this. Right. Yeah, I guess so.
Well, I mean, you're looking at the product of, I don't want to say race, like, my family's been in the Americas, North and South America, for 100 years. And so, like, but a huge difference is that I didn't, uh, I didn't, I've always wanted to be Armenian. Like, if you talk to my older brother, he's not interested in Armenia as much. We're brothers. The same parents, have the same upbringing, but he just, it's just not interesting to him, and he wants to do other things, pursue other things than the Armenian
The same
community.
situation. The same
Yeah,
situation, but with my little brother.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, it's to say, yeah, like, one, you could say that, like, in some ways, like, my parents would both say that I'm more Armenian than they are, because I speak more Armenian, or I'm learning more Armenian than they had to learn. I'm going to church more frequently than they're able to. So, I think that, like, genetics and, like, your family are just one part of the conversation, but the big part is a desire to be Armenian. And that's a difficult thing to capture, because people have to want to be Armenian.
Yeah. The next my question is something about this. We know that Armenians can unite when something terrible happen, but in peaceful time like this one, but it's not a peaceful time for Armenians, we cannot unite. Is it because of we lost our Armenian ideology? Is it the issue or not? Or it's a complex of
Well, I mean,
different
I don't
problems?
wanna, everything's complex, but I don't want to say that. That's lame. Um, the answer is that Armenians have never been united. When you look historically in the Middle Ages, like, Armenians would fight with, enemies of Armenia. There would be internal divisions. That's a consistent thing. Uh, the only thing that unites Armenia historically has been our language and our faith. That's pretty much it. Nothing really else. We just really don't have anything else that unites us other than, like, a shared tradition. But even then, we'll still disagree on, was Hike a real person, or was Mount Ararat really where Noah's Ark? Like, we disagree on these things historically, our national unifying stories. But if we start, forgetting Armenian, or we don't have a desire to learn the Armenian language, and we don't have a desire to practice the same faith, or at least see the faith as a uniting force, then, Armenians will just assimilate into all their different diasporic communities. But to answer your question, do I see it as impossible to unite? No, because there is another thing that totally unites the diaspora, 100%. They want to do whatever helps Armenia. There's no question. That's 100% unity there, is whatever helps Armenia. And the problem is that we don't know what Armenians want, and we also don't know what they need. And we unfortunately are very stubborn, and we like to project our opinions of what we think they need. And this is the problem Armenians deal with, is we need to realize what Armenians actually want and what they need, and what we misunderstand about them.
Do you think needs of Armenians in diaspora and Armenians in Republic of Armenia are different? Or is it the same needs?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But here's the thing, is a huge issue is the mentality of both Armenians in the diaspora and the Republic of Armenia. Both of them have this unfortunate mentality where the diasporans, I have to help Armenia. I have to help Armenia. And the Republic of Armenia think, either like some of them will say, the diaspora is helping as much as they can, and some say, well, they need to help more in a different way. And all three of these opinions are based in truth, but still sort of wrong. What the true mentality should be is, how can I work together and form a partnership?
Right.
I think that the diaspora can help and has helped Armenians, but they need to understand Armenians in Hayastan can help them. And Armenians in Hayastan also need to realize that they can help the diaspora. And they don't need, it's not a one-way relationship where it's just the Hayastansis taking. That's not the reality, and it doesn't have to be. It is give and take. They help each other and they receive help. That's the true mentality that all Armenians need to start adopting.
Yeah, we know lots of Armenians from diaspora, like a Kirkoyan, who just stopped helping Armenia because of corruption and local mentality. Just give it us and get lost.
Yeah. Yes.
That's it.
But I do think that mentality is changing. I've seen it change firsthand. But anything we can do to hurry up the change would be great.
Yeah, for hurrying up changes, we need more repatriation. We need more Western Armenians. We need more Armenians from the diaspora, because here is just one example. Service in restaurants in Armenian Yerevan, it went to the top level after Lebanon Armenians came to Armenia and starting improving every year. Locals saw it and they started thinking, oh, okay, we cannot compare with them, right? We need to improve our service. Because of it, just the restaurant services on top level, high top level. And talking about repatriation, what do you know feelings of new generation Z of Armenians? Do they want to come Armenia? Do they have roots and connections with Armenia, or they are Americans? They are separated and they don't think about Armenia. What do you think?
There's two answers to one question. I'll give you both. The first answer is that I don't think repatriation will fix all of Armenia's problems, and there are other issues that you can't use repatriation as a fix for everything. It's an important part, and I think it's a good thing, but it also isn't the solution for everything. Second point do Gen Z Armenians want to come back to Armenia? I think the answer is a lot of them do, especially those who grew up in an Armenian community and feel comfortable with the Armenian language. I do think a lot of them do, more so than previous generations, because in the past, no one wants to go to the Soviet Union, or if they did, it was because they were tricked or they misunderstood. Now, with so much transparency, people can see what life is like in Yerevan or in Gyokner or wherever. They can see, and through different programs, like Birthright or ABC, like these programs, people can see and touch how great it is to live in Armenia. But I think the mentality of a lot of Gen Z Armenians is, will my life get better? Will it improve my life? That is what they're thinking, because it's a very difficult thing to leave your home country or what you know to
Right.
go in effectively a foreign country.
Far enough. Far enough.
I mean, like I have to use these words. I know we're all family and we're all Armenians, but if in practical terms, that is what is being asked of the generation.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I understand and I agree. I agree. So the next question about their political views.
Uh-huh.
Are they more left wing or right wing Armenians in the US, Generation Z? So what do you
So, well, the thing about Armenians is that they're very good at assimilating. I actually respect my people a lot. It's for good and bad reasons, but we are very good at assimilation. And the thing is that we reflect the politics of our community. So, and this is true for Gen Z or any Armenian older, this has been the only consistent pattern. So, if a family moves into a very democratic or very liberal area, they will become very Democrat or liberal. They move into a very conservative area, they will become very conservative. And this is just a generally speaking. Of course, there are exceptions, but this is generally the pattern. Armenians, by and large, have a conservative mentality, but it works against us sometimes, because if you come from a very oppressive regime, like you able to get from Iran, or you came from the Soviet Union, you understand the best way to succeed in your new home is become like everyone else. And so, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who, it's not for reasons dealing with tradition or their culture. It's more of, I want to become what is easiest and what helps me make friends and what helps me build a community. And so that means that unfortunately, we don't have a lot of Armenians who are, um, I guess, distinguishing themselves in politics a lot, because a lot of them are going with the flow and just kind of being who they are. They're not taking the lessons that we have thousands of years from and applying it into American politics.
Yeah, and talking about American politics, I'd like to ask you your opinion. What are American political views towards Armenia in the US? I mean, this administration, they're trying to come to Armenia. I don't know. We know this TRIPP, I guess. Yeah, they signed a memorandum in Washington D.C. So, what's your thoughts on it? What do you think?
Well, the diaspora, I think, their usual knee-jerk reaction is to not trust the Republic of Armenia, especially the Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan. That's pretty instinctual for most diasporans. I think that the government is hated more in the diaspora than Stances. But regardless, as far as like the agreement, most Armenians are very upset by, or most diasporan Americans are very upset by it, because they want more, which is understandable. Like, I want more for Armenia as well. Um, So I think that the reaction is it seems like we're giving Azerbaijan another thing that they want for, not really a promise of peace, but everyone says, it's called a peace agreement. But will it actually translate to less Armenians getting killed in war, less territory being taken? That's not something that anyone is guaranteeing the Armenians, which is a cause of great frustration among the community. So now I'll play the devil's advocate, and you can say, well, it's not like Armenia has any cards to play. They don't have any ability to do anything more about it. And the response really is like, fine, maybe that's the case, but that doesn't mean I have to love it. Okay, you can say that there's no cards to play, but that doesn't mean I need to be happy about it. For me personally, my biggest goal is to ensure the fewest amount of Armenians have to die. That's the most important thing to me, is that less of my fellow Armenians have to be killed, as few as possible. I want Armenia to be free and sovereign, but that to me is, you can't have an Armenia without Armenians. You need land, and you need control and independence. But there is no Armenia without Armenians.
All right. And we're moving to finish our broadcast. I have a couple of questions for you. For the first time, I guess it's kind of enough just for introducing you and your thoughts. And I hope, if you don't mind, we will have regularly podcasts or broadcasts. I don't know if it's okay for you. So I was shocked by assassination on Charlie Kirk. It's terrible, and may God bless his family and give strength. But what was Charlie Kirk's influence on Generation Z in the US?
It's pretty hard to calculate it. I believe me, I was just as shocked too. But at the same time, with any tragedy, you also see it as inevitable. If you have a parent or grandparent who's very old or sick, and they die, it's still a shock when you hear the news that
Right.
this beloved person died, even though, come on, everyone dies. So that's kind of how a lot of Americans felt about Charlie Kirk. Is he was a pretty normal mainstream young conservative for his age, for being on conservative right wing. He was pretty, his views were pretty standard and normal. And that was part of the shock, is that you would do such violence in front of his family, by the way. And I don't know if you know, his daughter actually, his 2-year-old daughter ran to him, I guess his body, because she heard the loud noise, and actually ran to him because she thought her father would comfort him, and she didn't realize that he was probably dead. And it was, I not a single corner of America didn't feel some kind of shock about it. But it especially hurt the right, because the American conservatives, because it made us realize, if a normal conservative is going to be assassinated graphically, then that doesn't make me feel safe at all. This means that the left wing is very comfortable with me getting killed. Remember, this isn't just like one assassin. Thousands of people, teachers, lawyers, sometimes nurses, they were posting videos or writing posts on social media talking about how this was a great thing, how this needs to happen more often.
They are celebrating.
Yes. So it's not even that I'm scared that some transgender person is going to run out. I have a gun. Big deal. I can defend myself. But if you're telling me there are thousands of my fellow citizens, my fellow Americans, that think it's a great thing what happened to Charlie Kirk, and that I should be happy, and I hope it happens more often, that's an unlimited threat. it's worse than, in some ways, it's worse than ISIS, because a terrorist group off in the Middle East is way off in the Middle East. I don't really think about them. They can't hurt me. But one of my own fellow citizens wants me dead. That changes my calculus a lot on how I do politics and how I go about my daily life.
All right.
So I'm sorry to give you such a dark note, but if I can, I'll say a little bit more positive ending. I think that a lot of Americans with this dark, sober realization are now more aware that they should be aware and that they have to fight for themselves. And I think this translates to Armenians too, because Armenians are always thinking about their extinction. And now I guess like they have a stronger voice and more credibility.
So, are you considering that Charles' assassination will impact on Generation Z, or not only Generation? Will it have impact?
I've seen it right now. If people were already
bringing to more normal views. I cannot say right wing, or I'm saying normal wing. It's it's a normal wing.
I agree with you. Like, more normal views, yes and no, because I think that a lot of the left wing and liberals specifically have been dominating what is normal, and they've defined what is normal, and they've created a system that's normal. What the right wing has always done is they've objected, and they've been always on the defensive and always trying to explain why they're wrong, and why they're shifting, what normal is just shifting towards further and further progressivism. So the things like, we have to go back to like before, before people were transgender. Let's just like go back to gay marriage. And that's not quite, I would say, like where the right is thinking. We're not thinking, we need to go back to just like have gay marriage be legal. That's not how the right is thinking at all. They're thinking, what caused this? If gay marriage leads to transgenderism, and transgenderism leads to doing surgeries on children, or redefining pronouns and all sorts of things like that, then we need to really look at what were the normal presuppositions or assumptions that were made that led to this craziness. So when you say return to normal, the answer is like, are you talking 1920s? Are you talking 3rd century BC? And I think that the right, not just the American right, but the global right, including the Armenians, need to start to realize what really was normal and what does that even look like. And if it means getting there being more right-wing, so be it.
Correct. Actually, I'm surprised that the right didn't vote up media, before left, or didn't create media to define what is normal instead of left, Okay, left wing, they're defining what's normal. Normal is a gay marriage and lesbians, and soon pedophilia will be normal thing.
Yeah.
So
I think the answer is that the right wing historically, especially before Donald Trump, was what we call controlled opposition, meaning they were effectively just like right wing liberals, where they would say like, yeah, I'm not okay with transgenderism, but of course I'm okay with gay marriage, and it's like they just keep pushing. The phrase that we say is like, it's liberalism but at the speed limits. They're not going as fast as they can, but they're just going a little bit slower. And I think what what made him important is that he was willing to say maybe abortion overall is bad, the whole thing. And it's not, at this certain point, or that, like, that's not what Charlie Kirk was arguing. He was arguing the whole thing is rotten to the core. The whole concept is bad. And that's why they chose to murder him. is because he was part of the growing Gen Z segment of the right, where they're looking at whatever my parents told me was normal isn't working out. Like that normal is still not what I want because that normal led to today.
Do you think there are other reasons why did they pick him to kill? Maybe because he was very effective in what he did.
Well, there are a lot of people that do similar things to what he did, but it's worth remembering. The assassin was a matter of convenience. He lived in a local area, and he happened to know that Charlie Kirk was coming to him. So, had it been someone like another right wing figure like Tucker Carlson or Ben Shapiro, maybe the same thing would have happened. Or even Donald Trump, because remember, Donald Trump almost was killed himself. So I mean, there may be like 10 figures that would have this, like, if they were assassinated, they would have a similar impact that Charlie Kirk did. Charlie Kirk, according to Donald Trump himself, said that he was one of the top four people responsible for him winning in 2024. So, I mean, you can say a lot, whatever you want, but he didn't just like speak to people and on social media, but he also built an organization that was specifically designed to create more right-wing conservative Gen Z people.
You're talking about Turning Point, right?
Yeah, Turning Point USA.
Turning Point USA. Who will take it? Who will take it after Charlie?
So officially, the news is broken that Erica Kirk, his widow, will be running the organization. But she's not on camera like he is. I don't think that she will have the same persona that he did, but she will do it. Take the organization as she sees best. And I don't know what her talents are, or if she can do exactly what he did. And most people think that no one is going to be able to replace him for who he was. He was one of a kind. He was his own person for his time.
I heard that Ben Shapiro will take it. I don't know. Is it true or just a fake?
Well, I mean, I think he said, I will pick up the microphone and continue on. A lot of people reacted like, how dare you? He's not even buried yet, and you're already talking about replacing him. But I think that in his mind, what Shapiro was meaning was, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, just like Kirk would want me to do. What he means is no one is saying, okay, we have to be more moderate, we have to be nicer because we might get killed. Nobody is saying that. Everyone is saying, okay, like if you're going to kill someone like Charlie Kirk, then we're all going to be like Charlie Kirk.
So you think he was misunderstood, Ben Shapiro?
Probably. I mean, I don't know what his heart was. Maybe he's saying that, ooh, maybe I can get more subscribers. Yeah. I'm not in Shapiro's mind. I try to give him the benefit of the doubt, but
right. I know is Candace very familiar in the USA, and she's growing, as I see.
Candace Owens?
Right? Candace Owens, right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, see, the thing about Candace Owens, she is very popular on her own. She has a big platform, but I think that she's making a lot of very serious blunders. Like, for example, it's breaking, she got into a fight with the Glendale Memorial for Kirk. Like, she is feuding with the organizers, and she decided not to speak at the memorial for Charlie Kirk in Glendale. And she is stressing a lot that the reason Kirk was killed is because of Israel, and there was Mossad, and she just kind of is throwing around anti-Israel conspiracy theories. And that's all well and good if you want to throw around conspiracy theories, but you kind of need evidence, especially if it's like the guy was unfair. Like, there's no evidence for it. You can say all you want about Israel, but like, I don't really care for conspiracy theories. I need evidence. It just means nothing except you're distracting from the true villains, which, we know who killed Charlie Kirk. It was, this assassin. We know exactly who it is. Like, are you telling me that he was paid by Israel or something? Like, there's no proof that Israel had anything to do with him. And besides, Charlie Kirk was extremely pro-Israel his whole career. And she's alleging that, well, it sounded like he was going to change his position. Like, okay, but he didn't. And he never will now.
She, she looks like a more Alex Jones, right?
More Alex Jones.
Alex Jones is a legend, but it's a kind of,
I mean, I don't know what's going on. Like, believe me, if I knew what was going on with women, I probably wouldn't be single right now. But I don't know what goes on in their heads. So,
yeah. And in the end, we have a question from our chat. So Arsen is asking, what do you think about making English the second language in Armenia?
I very much oppose it. I think that would be a huge mistake. I think it's great to teach it there. I think that's great that we have educated Armenians that speak English and Russian or French or Arabic, whatever it is. Like, that's fantastic. I think they should speak Azerbaijani, but never should they think that English is the main language. That should never happen. And I say this as someone who only speaks English. I don't know a second language. I'm still studying Eastern Armenian, even though I'm Western Armenian. I was shocked and very saddened by all the street signs I saw in Armenia that were in English. I was, puzzled. I'm like, this is supposed to be Armenia. This is the one country in the world where I should see street signs in Armenian. Sometimes they're only in English and there's no Armenian letters at all. To me, it's a form of colonization, if you will. But, it's one thing to have English out of necessity. Like, you might have a foreigner coming or a tourist and you want to explain something, like, that's fine. But when you have, things like banks or practical things for people who live there in the long term, it should all be Armenian. And, people should be expected to at least know basic Armenian if they want to live there in the long term.
Yeah, totally agree. I would make Western Armenian as I wouldn't say second. It's our language. It's Armenian language.
If you really want to go radical, the most radical opinion, I think, is that we should adopt Karapar as the national language, because that is the only language that Armenians use that's not infiltrated by Russians, Persians, or Turks. That's the truly pure Armenian. I know that'll take time, and Armenia is just trying to survive, so it's not something I would emphasize. But that, to me, is like the ultimate our pro-Armenia push for a language. So thank you, Arsen. That's a good question.
Yeah, but it's one of the ways to strengthen Armenia. Just make Grapar it's a language, official language. For example,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, or starting it. That's it. Alijan, I thank you very much. Thank you for this interesting conversation. I'm glad to see you. Shashnurakal with you. I hope we will have regularly podcasts because people want to know about our diaspora. We lost our connection. People in Armenia think that, oh, it's a diaspora. They're just flexing or showing off. That's it. And people in diaspora, maybe some of them think like, Hayastans is something like, I don't know, barbarians, just the Soviets or Russians, we don't know. But
if I hear one more person say Russian or Soviet mentality, I'm going to punch them in the face. Like, it's ridiculous.
Okay, I'm the second one who will punch. Okay, call me. Just call me. You know my number. I will punch. Okay, Alexander, thank you very much. I see lots of people. Yeah, very grateful. And have a nice day, brother.
You too. Thank you so much. Ajo Otsu.
Ajo Witson.